Now they'll take a show, add some tunes, a few tears and a big happy ending, and you've got a great night out and feel
Round
good
at Ross's house, obviously.
Same every night, it's like my place on a Tuesday. Musicals, actually. Musical theatre is what we're looking at. And they do look at life's big themes. They have rousing and uplifting scores, and there's no doubt they can move us.
In fact, a new book, Ian Bradley's You've Got to Have a Dream, argues that for many in the audience, it could be the kind of experience that they used to get from religion. We sent David Soul, yes, the David Soul, currently starring in Jerry Springer at the Opera, out into London's West End to put the theory to the test.
Jerry Springer the Opera is risque, it's in your face, the language is X-rated. But could a musical like that also have a spiritual dimension?
You can talk to the hand, 'cause the face ain't listening.
Well, according to a new book by theologian Ian Bradley, musicals like Jerry Springer the Opera and Les Mis, Phantom of the Opera, they also provide an insight into our religious life. They offer all the myth, the morals, and the meaning we need to inspire the spirit and satisfy our spiritual hunger. Well, that's the theory anyway. But what do you think the congregation makes of that?
Musicals can be very spiritual because they address themes of love and romance in a very accessible way.
You feel good when you come out and you think about it when you leave.
I cried. It was that emotional.
I think the particular power of musicals is that they assault all the senses. It's not just the song, it's not just the words, it's not just the music, it's the effects, the light, the costumes, the whole experience of going to theatre. It's a total experience.
Sweet Jesus, hear my prayer.
In some ways, going to a musical theatre is rather like going to a church. I mean, we're sitting here in a theatre now, and it's not unlike a church, particularly not unlike a modern church. There's almost a kind of communion between the audience and the people on stage. And I think that actors and singers in musical theatre are, in some senses, enacting a priestly role.
I don't think what we're doing is that in any way. We're just putting up a mirror to the world.
That's right.
We're showing all the possibilities, what mankind is like, what has been, and what will always be. We're not necessarily making any moral judgment about it. We leave that to an audience.
I think they can find messages about redemption and love and how it is that we treat humankind. Certainly that's there to be seen. But I don't know necessarily whether what we're doing should be considered something to replace what we find in our theological pursuits.
I think the church can learn a lot from musical theatre. I think it can learn about accessibility. It pursues lyrics and storylines and melodies that are accessible and enjoyable. I think the church could learn how to celebrate a bit better, be joyful, and probably explore issues of meaning for human beings with a human face instead of in the philosophical abstract.
I dreamed a dream in time gone by, when hope was high and life worth living. I dreamed that love would never die. I dreamed that God would be forgiving.
There are at least 16 big commercial musicals based on the Bible, and I suppose the most familiar to us are the great trinity that appeared in the early 70s. Joseph and His Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, Jesus Christ Superstar, and Godspell. All of them fascinating. And I think one can say that Rice and Lloyd Webber have probably done more than any preacher or priest to actually introduce huge numbers of people to biblical ideas and personalities. There are certainly plenty of musicals on in the West End now which are full of spiritual and theological imagery. There are 31 references to God in the English language version of Les Miserables. There are 8 references to Jesus. There are 6 references to the Passion. There are references to the blood of the martyrs, to the cross of Calvary. It's packed with theological language. It's packed with songs which have a significant theological punch.
God on high, hear my prayer in my need.
Les Mis is about one man who had turned his back on God and through an act of extraordinary kindness devotes his life to God. And there's a lovely line which sums up what the whole show is about. To love another person is to see the face of God. Do you There can be the very rare and special moments when you realise that it's taken on a life of its own. It's kind of gone beyond its normal framework, and the audience is listening to a far deeper message, and you know that you're kind of channeling that message.
Love will never, never let you be the
Are you particularly aware when you're performing of the impact that you're having
Yes,
on an audience?
I'm very aware.
In what way?
I could literally see people disappearing back to their divorce or their anxieties or their first love.
Was it really you who I was thinking of?
And people would suddenly just put their hand into one another's hand, and what I was so amazed about, more men cried than women.
Were you foremost in my heart?
There's no doubt about it that audiences are touched spiritually by going to the theatre. Theatre is always about telling stories, and the stories that we tell make us aware that we share humanity with other people. They make us aware that we're not alone. And the search for God and the search for that kind of spirituality is a search to make us believe that on the dark moments when our souls feel black and we feel there's no hope, that we're not alone, and that other people have been through it, and that there's a chance of coming through the other side.
Winds in the east, there's a mist coming in, like something is brewing and bad to begin. Can't put my finger on what lies in store, but I feel what's to happen, all happened before.
Obviously there are some plays and some musicals which seek to transform lives, but there are some which just perhaps rest there and say, isn't this enjoyable? And now you can get the 68 bus home.
Yeah.
Christian church isn't being church if it's operating like that.
If we're really looking for something that offers a lasting sense of participation after the curtain falls, and some place that can nurture, support, and challenge us to become involved in the lives of others, then we'll probably find that role more significantly realized in our religious faith, in action, not in the musical theatre.
We're just frustrated we can't set this show to music every week. And you can see David Soul appearing in Jerry Springer the Opera this coming Saturday on BBC Two at 10 o'clock. And it's very, very funny, if a tad rude.